Well, because, Peter, so know why I'm here. I'm disappointed that Mickey didn't show up. And I think she threw you on the bus, Rick.
I don't have a problem sitting here.
I read her letter. Want to make sure I got this straight. She talked about balancing the budget, yada, yada, yada. We raised some fees, buoys, ramps, slips, but she didn't talk about the piers. My favorite subject, as you guys well know. Those three things that we talked about on the lakefront that were raised, piers, ramps, and buoys, were raised 2%, 4%, 6%. Let me see if I can remember. It's 31% that the slips were raised. 31% of this account. You've heard me say this before, I'm going to say it again. I only lost round 1 last week. Going into round 2 now. For the rest of you who don't know, and I apologize for boring you with Fontana Village Board. But I guess I don't even have to ask for your comments on it. I think I know how you all feel. I feel personally that 31% in this account, as anybody in this room, Lake Geneva, Lynn Township, Williams Bay, got a pay increase of 31%. Has your house appreciated 31%? Have your investments appreciated 31%? I know the answer. Nada. No. Never. It hasn't happened. But yet, the Pearson owners are putting a huge expense. This year it'll be $60,000 in the general fund. I just think it's unreasonable. I'll end now. Thanks for coming. Thanks for holding this. The crybaby can cry a little bit more.
You're the we the people.
No, it wasn't a question. I guess it's a statement.
You have every ability to state your opinion.
Sir?
You have every ability to state your opinion in this country, in the village of Fontana, and we appreciate your opinion, even though some disagree. You know that that issue of the 31% increase in peers came before the board. It was deadlocked. It was only deadlocked because trustee Pat Kenny could not vote because of state statutes, because he is a leaseholder. If he wasn't, we would have reversed it to 3.5%. And if you're interested in reading the pass out that we passed out that night, I have extra copies on the table. I agree that we have village employees, non-union employees, have not had an increase in 3 years. That's just dead wrong, folks. Dead wrong. We have a $4 million budget, and we can't give our hard-working village people who are non-union even a lump sum bonus. That has to change. Thank you, Ray.
I don't disagree with that, George, but I'm a non-union mom and pop photo shop. We haven't had a price increase in 8 years. You know what we do when we get into times like this? We tighten our belt. We cut back. We just do things different. We work Sundays. I don't want to give up Sundays. I want to be in the boat. Might not be in the boat slip anymore if I can't afford it, but maybe I can work every Sunday now this summer. I just have to think that one over. But we tighten our belt.
I'd like to make 2 comments. One, I've attended a lot of village board meetings, and one thing that's always bothered me is when something's increased, someone says that percentage increase is too much to bear. And an example is, my next door neighbor, similar property as mine, only his is twice as large. When I got a tax bill one time, I looked at his. His land assessed valuation was half of what mine was. He had twice as much land, everything else was similar. To bring these two into sync, and I was taxed correctly, to bring these two into sync, he had to have an over 100% tax increase. So to use the logic that 100% tax increase is unfathomable and wrong in all situations, I disagree with. And I hear that at the board level with a lot of different issues as far as this goes. As far as the peer slips and the 31%, I think that it's another example of how hard it is to make decisions in a small town. You know, this affected 30 people significantly. It's a matter of fairness to the slip holders and the rest of the residents of the village. If you have a scarce asset, you have to make people pay market value for that. there's two possible issues you can have. One, you don't want to pay market value. Two, you think we determined market value incorrectly. I will stand behind the statement that I think when there's a scarce asset, market value should be paid by everyone. If you want to open up discussion that we determine market value inappropriately, I'm open to that. But I think that whenever there's a scarce asset, and it,
would either of the other two candidates like to respond?
Well, I'd like to make a comment. I think I made a mistake, and I voted for this back in September. I didn't know all the facts,
I
and
forgave you and your check is in the mail.
what's that?
I forgave you and your check is in the
Okay,
mail.
thank you, Ray. But after talking to Ray about this and learning the history of these piers, it became evident that, and this was, in my opinion, unjust. I voted to rescind. It was deadlocked. I think the Village of Fontana, part of the rationale was we have a large waiting list for slips. I think the Village of Fontana ought to look at, if we want to expedite this waiting list and generate more income, I think we could go to any bank in the state of Wisconsin and get a loan to build a pier based on the revenue from that pier will generate. We can add more slips in Fontana if that's what the people want. If we want to get more residents on this waiting list, we can throw in 10, 15 more slips and keep prices, bearable, I think. So that's my comment.
I've been on both sides of it. I rent docks and things. We had some major increases down at Lake Geneva. It is there's not a right answer on that. I think you have to balance things between respecting your citizens who are utilizing some of those assets. You have to balance. Do you put up 15 more slips? Do you put parking lots over all of your parks because you can get revenue from them? Those aren't easy. There's a fine line somewhere, and we all need to ask that question. What do we want? I guess we listen to that as trustees and ask for input from our citizens. Hey, what do you really want? We're going to have to make some hard choices here. And large. I don't like receiving or giving. I will say I'm fair. I don't like receiving or giving large changes at any one time. I like things to be balanced. I think that's a fair way to do it. Prepare people. I try to do that with my staff. We've always, in our business, never had massive price increases at any one time. But I understand balancing scarce resources and providing things. So I think you got to. You got to be fair to people and make things work for both the community and those people who are using some of your resources.
Do we have time for another question?